In this self-knit bubbly da baba dee ba doo doo. Greetings, listeners all around the world. You're listening to the UniquilibriuM podcast by Hypno Athletics, exercising your mind. I'm your host and guide, Hakeem Ali-Bocas Alexander, and I'll be talking about all things metaphysical, hypnosis, and meditation for relaxation, sleep, lucid dreaming, and beyond. Get ready. Here we go. All of what I'm doing right now is about developing telekinesis or developing telekinetic abilities. To me, there's no question that telekinetic abilities exist. The problem is that these type of abilities are questioned so often, so regularly in life, that people are always doubting themselves about whether or not their consciousness, their minds, can affect matter or even have any significance at all. And that's a problem. So I just did a bunch of crude experiments that I had learned from somewhere before. For many years, I've been watching people talk about consciousness and the interactions with quantum mechanics and different things like this. And, for example, 2006 was the movie The Secret, and they had a bunch of physicists and other people there. And then another one I saw was called What the Bleep Do We Know? That was more convincing, but one of the things about the movie What the Bleep Do We Know was the featuring of the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And I would later only learn this year in 2021, and I saw What the Bleep Do We Know when it first came out. It must have been 2006, 2007, somewhere around there, but it was a long time ago. It's 2021 now, so that's, 2006 must have been 15 years ago when I first saw it. And so these are my observations. These are the things that I saw. And so my question is, can my mind affect matter? Is there really a thing such as mind over matter? And to me, the answer was already yes. Mind affects matter. And in these movies, like What the Bleep Do We Know, these people keep talking about and trying to convince us that, and showing us in experiments that it can happen. But it wasn't until 2020 when I saw the video from Dean Radin, who's the head researcher at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, which, like I said, was featured in the movie What the Bleep Do We Know. When it wasn't until I saw the video on YouTube that was called New Experiments Show Consciousness Affects Matter did I realize how profound and how genius his experiments were. Basically, the experiments that he's done and many other laboratories have done has shown that consciousness affects matter, and in this one very specific way, by using something called a random number generator, a computer-based, a software-based system that is supposed to be like a digital coin toss. So if you flip a coin, you either get heads, right? Or you get tails, the other side. This is a coin from Taiwan, where I visited many times. And heads, to me, I determine will be a 1, and tails, I determine would be a 0. And it's binary, right? 1 and 0, just like computer code, binary code, 1 or 0. And anyway, it has been reported in these experiments that consciousness has in fact been able to what is called steer the results, to steer the outcomes of these random number generators to either produce and display more 1s or more 0s, depending on a predetermined prediction. So if the coin flips to heads in my experiments, I say that's going to be a 1, and I'm going to focus in my imagination and in other ways to get more 1s than 0s. If it flips to tails, then I'm going to focus in my imagination to get more 0s than 1s. And that's basically what these experiments have done. That's basically it. There's a lot of other things they did for to set up the experiments, but that's it. All they were attempting to do was to see if by meditating and thinking about it and imagining either a 0 or a 1, will they be able to get more 0s or 1s depending on what they were focusing on. And the experiments have conclusively shown that yes, in fact, you can get the result that you want by thinking about what you want, especially with random number generators that are set to either put out a 1 or a 0. And so, again, those are my observations, and my question is, can I do that? And I felt like I could. So, what I did was I decided then that I'm going to make a prediction. That I, too, by using a random number generator, even at home, can cause a computer system to produce and display more 1s than 0s when I ask it to give me more 1s than 0s, or more 0s than 1s when I ask it to give me more 0s than 1s. And so I decided to set up an experiment to do so. So here's what I did. My methods were that I downloaded an app, which is a random number generator, called Random Number Generator Plus. And I paid on my Google App Store for the Pro version so that I got no ads and no other interruptions. I also paid for the Pro version of this video software that you're looking at right now that I'm making this video with, which is a screen capture software. And it's a screen capture software. I also paid for the Pro version so that I would not get any interruptions. All right. And then I used a coin that I got from when I was in Taiwan, a 50 yuan coin, and that's what I set up. I would flip that coin to determine if I got a heads, I would try to focus on more 1s. If I got a tails, I would try to focus on more 0s. And then I would use the random number generator and simply press the blue icon on the screen that said generate, and it would give me a 1 or a 0. And the other thing I did was I kept track of it with a piece of paper on a clipboard with a notebook and a pen, so I could count it, so I wouldn't lose track of what I was doing. The first experiments were kind of sloppy when I first started, but I streamlined it as I went along, and that's what this is all about. And the device I'm using is a Galaxy S7 that I bought back in 2016. Both of them actually, because then one of the things that I eventually did was to help myself focus, was I put my voice on repeat, hearing myself say 0, 0, 0, 0 or 1, 1, 1, 1. And that was to help me focus. For example, and I put it on loop.
1, 1, 1, number 1, number 1, number 1, number 1.
Or
1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Or
0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
so I put the headphones on eventually and started listening. Now some very interesting things happened because of this. When I first started the experiment and I didn't have a visual cue, because I don't know if I showed you this, maybe I did, again I'm very scatterbrained, but I wrote a 1 and I wrote a 0 on pieces of an index card. And that's what I did before I actually recorded myself on loop doing the audio. So in the first 5 tests that I did, I got a pass means that I got more of what I wanted to than what I didn't want to. So in the first test, I wanted to get more 0s than 1s, and sure enough, I did. In the second test, I wanted to get more 1s than 0s, and I didn't. So that was called a fail. So in the first 5 tests, it went like this. pass, fail, pass, fail, pass. Right? But then, right after that, and you can look at all the videos on YouTube, when I started using visual cues, I got 2 passes in a row and then a fail. And then, when I finally added the audio along with the visual cues of me looking at the numeral 1 or the numeral 0, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 passes in a row where I influenced the random number generator to give me the result that I wanted. And so, basically what I found, I started the beginning of how to develop telekinetic abilities. And it might not seem like much, but okay, let's start again. I saw that other people were claiming to and doing experiments that said that our minds, which most of us think is invisible and non-material, can affect the hard stuff, the matter, knock, 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 right? And so I thought to myself, well, I have a mind and I'm conscious too, so can I do that? My answer was yes, I can do that. So then I decided to say that I'm going to do that, and how am I going to prove it? Well, I just used the same idea that was used from the Institute of Noetic Sciences and many other places that have conducted these experiments, and I decided that I'm going to be able to influence a digital software-based system, a random number generator, to give me more ones or more zeros, because that's the way I set it, to either give a 1 or a 0. And sure enough, that's what I set out to do, and that's what I did. Here are what my results were, very briefly. And let me take a look at the time here, because I'm going to make this, it's only 11 minutes, and then we're going to sign off, and I'll post these results again, but they're already on Facebook. But here's what happened. Here's what the results actually were. In the end, I had 10 passes, what I call 10 telekinetic passes, and only 5 fails. And 7 of those 10 telekinetic passes were after I combined both a visual cue of writing the numeral 1 or 0 on an index card, and also listening to my own voice saying 1 or 0 over and over again while looking at the corresponding 1 or 0 on those index cards. And I did other things too, like, for example, the coin would be facing heads up if it was representing 1, and to the right of the 1 on the index card. And when it was tails facing up, it was to the left of the 0 on the index card. And all these things indicated to me 1 or 0. And so I had all this focus. And when I got more focus, 7 in a row. I mean, incredible. And we can look back at the videos that I made and indeed confirm that that's what happened. That when I became more coherent, when I became more organized in my thought and how to focus and concentrate, the results of the random number generators corresponded with that. And again, the experiments were very poorly designed. It was haphazard at first. I was just having fun. It was just like a drunken experiment to have fun and just to get it started, because I knew that once I got it started, then what has happened now has happened. I've basically now, because of doing that, I came up with a well-designed scientific experiment that anybody can do at home, which is using a random number generator and using your mind to influence it. And so what do you need to do this experiment at home? Well, you need a coin of any time. It does not need to be one from Taiwan. Heads or tails? Head should be 1, tails should be 0. And there it goes. You should also write on a piece of paper the numeral 0 and the numeral 1 so that you can look at it. You should also record your voice and put it on loop in your device. I'm using a Samsung Galaxy S7 phone so that you can hear yourself saying either the numeral 1 or the numeral 0, just like this.
1, 1, 1, 1.
Or saying 0.
0, 0, 0, 0.
And those things combine together, and then you just simply press the icon on the random number generator and see what it gives you. Now, what I did was I did 15 trials. And a trial meant that I did a certain amount of tests. And I did 15 tests in each trial. And a test for me was simply a flipping of the digital coin by pressing that icon that said generate, so that the computer system, the software on my mobile device from Random Number Generator Plus would either give me a 1 or a 0. And I did that 15 times, and I wrote down the results of that. I recorded the results of that. And 15 tests equaled 1 trial. And I did each trial 15 times. And that was kind of arbitrarily just based on the fact that I intended only to do 10 for the first one, but ended up doing 15 somehow because I got lost. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to write more down about how to design this type of scientific experiment, which is really easy to do at home. But just the fact that the first time out, and with the corresponding results that happen with being able to focus more by visualizing and hearing, and having such a coherent result of having 7 passes in a row, that's what's known as a significant result. That's significant. So I've had a significant result. Some amazing things happen, and I may even eventually feature this beautiful green and red timer in my future experiments. I don't know how it's going to help, but if it can, it will. But if not, it's just overly complicated. But I wanted to have it in this video because it's pretty, and I use it for my 5-minute rounds of kickboxing when I train at the gym. But anyway, that's it. This is some of the components of my scientific experiment of developing telekinetic abilities. And there's a lot more to that because I'm going to eventually learn what is going on here and how to start to move larger physical objects. Also using ones and zeros. And just like exercising your body, we have to exercise our minds. And so that's what I'm going for with this development of telekinetic abilities. So signing off now, and we need to proceed forward and see what we can do with the development of telekinetic abilities. So catch you on the next wave. See you next time. We're going to see what we can do with all of this. Take care.